Hey, welcome back to No Hype Beer Reviews. Unless it's your first time, then welcome. Please consider subscribing. If you do, hit the notification bell, get all the updates. That's it for today's video. So it's Thursday, and sometimes on Thursdays I do what I call Thursdays Thirsty Thoughts. Try to come up with a topic. Hopefully it's engaging, get some conversations going in the comment section below. It's hard for me to do too many live streams. As I say, almost every video, it's probably annoying at this point. This hopefully allows for interaction between people who watch and me in a very, on our own time kind of a way. This is an idea for it wasn't going to be a series. So it'll be sporadic. I don't plan on like banging all these. Actually, I only have 2 ideas so far for this. I don't plan on necessarily doing them in order. They might be. So definitely, if you are curious about any aspect of what I'm trying to talk about, comment section below, let me know. I will gladly address things. But just kind of not that there's a big behind the curtain of doing beer reviews on YouTube or any kind of beer reviews, I suppose. We like to call it beer tube, but beer reviews on YouTube if you prefer. But 2 things that popped into my mind that I did want to kind of talk about, and definitely will answer questions, and again, make videos on more specific things if I don't think of something. I always love, topics of conversation from people who watch. What are you guys interested in? But I kind of want to do the ethics of it, and the reason I'm starting with this specific topic, how do you ethically review beer that was sent to you by a brewery? The other one I want to talk about is the money of YouTube or BeerTube or beer reviews, monetization, other ways you can make money off of this, and again the ethics of that, as I see it anyway. If you have other thoughts, let me know, and I can certainly add to this ongoing series of just the ethics of what I do. But I wanted to start with this one because this was the first one that I ever got thinking about. I don't have a ton of breweries who send me beer, but I have, a decent number, by comparison to other people who do the same thing I do. And for me, I think it's pretty easy. People, the breweries will send beer, and I just try not to factor in how awesome that is when I'm reviewing. For me, it's that simple, right? It's just I think maybe being a teacher, that helps me. Where oh, this kid's awesome. I have a great relationship with them. I'm a big fan of theirs. I enjoy them being in my class. But when I go to grade their work, I'm not grading that, right? I have to grade for understanding how they, got their ideas out there on paper or whatever. And you have to separate yourself from the emotions of how you like the person from the work, because I need to give them that real feedback so that they can improve on those skills, that content, whatever. I'm not saying you have to be a teacher to be ethical at this, but I think that is, something that's helpful. One of the first things that, I won't use people's names, it's not my style, but one of the first things, and I'm not trying to play a game of try to guess who I'm talking about. Winner wins a prize in the comment section below. I'm not going to weigh in on who this was, okay? And if you figure it out, neat. But it's just not my style to call people out first, especially something like this. There was a person who does exactly what I do, and there was a brewery who they had gotten some beers from, and not particularly good ratings. The reviews were not particularly positive, and this person does numbers, and not particularly good for this brewery. And then this brewery started sending them beer. So the beers they got before was not from the brewery directly. Interestingly, and this is when I stopped watching that channel officially, once the brewery started sending them beers, that brewery was amazing to them. To me, that's very unethical. That's why I had to stop watching that channel. Because I'm I can't necessarily take what this person's saying as honest. That violates my ethics, that somehow they were a horrible brewery, and then they magically, at the exact same time that they started sending you beer, they became a good brewery. That bothered me. And that kind of got me thinking about it. Another one, this one, just a person one time, they do videos about beer. And we had done something together, and off camera-ish, we were still talking through a camera, but we weren't recording. The person asked me, and I thought it took me aback when they asked me. They go, "How much does Hot Butcher pay you for their reviews?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?" They're like, "Yeah, I assume they pay you money." I'm like, Oh no, they don't. Like they send the beer. At that point, I think they had sent like a glass or two, also, which is cool. I love proper glassware. Spoiler alert: tomorrow there'll be a Fiden's beer review because I like using proper glassware when I can. But I'm like, no, but they have never ever to this day given me any money. That's not what this is. They send their beer, and from their point of view, and this is my favorite point of view, if a brewery does contact me, I love it when they say the following: we like long form discussions of our beer. That's what gets me excited. It's not just like, hey, if you're talking about our beer, people who watch your channel like beer, and now we have advertising. And I get that. That is part of it from a brewery point of view, I am sure, right? But I love that, like when Hot Butcher first reached out, they're like, especially back then they didn't have a tap room. And, you go on Untappd as an example, right? And maybe people are putting scores out of 5. Maybe they're putting comments. Maybe they're, but like sometimes it's not the best feedback, I don't think, for a brewery. Someone gives it a 3 out of 5 with no words. Is that a good score in your opinion? A bad score? You would buy that beer again? You would tell people, like to me, like a 3 out of, it's one of the reasons I don't rate beer. To me, 3 out of 5 is a failing grade. It's that teacher mindset. That's a 60%. But to some people, 3 out of 5 is like, I'd buy that again for sure. Like people have different barometers for that. So I know for them, for example, that they love watching and what's the feedback, like what are the notes that the people like and don't like. I'm super happy for them now that they have a tap room and they can talk to people in real time about that stuff too, which is super rad. I know like Pariah, just to use another example, Brian from them, they moved from West Coast operation to East Coast operation in Baltimore. And I mean, I don't think he'll mind me saying this. He very explicitly was like, this is why I send some of you guys beer. He's like, especially right now, like I'm trying to, like this new system, right? And I want that feedback. So like, don't hold back, like that's where I'm coming from as a beer reviewer is, yeah, I don't want to be like, oh, this is awesome. They sent it to me. I'm going to keep raving about it. That's not the point. I want to be, again, ethical about this. I want to be, do right by people, because like what if people watch these reviews and like, oh man, he loved that beer, I'm gonna go seek that out. If I can't buy it, maybe I'm gonna trade for it. That adds up. I'm not trying to do that to people who are viewers of my channel, right? So I'm always honest, if I like a beer, how much I like the beer, things like that. But like, if a brewery sent me beer like, yo, we want you to hype this up, that's not what I do here. I'm not just saying that because of my channel name, right? The closest was potentially when the brewery sent me stuff. And I was very upfront, like they sent me this because they wanted me to talk about their Reserve Society. They did finally give me like an affiliate link. If people did order the Reserve Society through that link, I would get a kickback. This is going to be more in that monetization, how to make money, if it's ethical to make money off of beer reviews. That video, I'll talk more about that. But that was the closest. But again, they didn't pay me anything. No one even ordered through them. But there was no money given to me to then review their product. That to me is where it would be a little goofy. If they send me the product, I can certainly, in my opinion, ethically and honestly review it. If they're paying me to review the product, to me that crosses a line. I'm not saying you shouldn't make money doing this or anything else. Like I'm very pro people making money and providing for themselves or families, whatever, right? Again, that'll be a separate video. But I don't think being sent a product and then honestly reviewing it is particularly hard. But just because, again, like doing this, it was like the first time, and not a lot of people bring this up, but like just like, again, the ethics of you were gifted the product that you are now reviewing. How ethically, how honestly can you do that? This is my take on it. This is how I approach it. This is how, I didn't talk to anyone else who does beer reviews, YouTube or anywhere else. This is completely my own thoughts. I didn't bounce ideas off of anyone else. But yeah, to me, that's my approach. That's how I do it. It's not a particularly complicated thing for me to do. But again, I would draw the line if someone's like, I'll pay you money to hype up the brewery. That's not a beer review at that point. That's just pretend time. And I don't want to sacrifice any sort of integrity. This channel, I think 5 years old, 6 years, I don't even know, I gotta look it up. Like, I like to think I've, developed some integrity and well, I've always had the integrity, but like with my viewers that like, yeah, like he's honest and not, gonna lie to us or let money influence him when it comes to reviews. So yeah, I think it's pretty easy. But you have to be aware of it. You know, it is rad. You know, if a new brewery's like, hey, we want to send you beer, like that is a cool feeling. Don't get me wrong. But like, you have to divorce that. Just like I was saying, going back full, you know, to be full circle, the teacher thing. Like, I think all my students are rad, right? But they're not all at a 100% level, right? And I have to ethically explain that to them in a way that they can get better. And that's how I approach these beer reviews. I'm a pretty open, unless you're asking me for like my social security number, I'm an open book. Feel free to ask questions, ask for clarification. You know, obviously I did this all in one take. I did think about some things I wanted to hit, but I didn't write anything down. So I might have forgotten something. Might have not quite articulated something the way that you understood, or whatever. Comment section below. Let's get it going. That's the whole point of these things, to get conversations going. And again, the only other video idea I have for this series of the ethics of doing beer reviews, BeerTube, is about the money aspect of it, and that'll be the next video in this series. So if you have other ones you're like, what about the ethics of blah 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 in terms of this, let me know. I'm super accepting of ideas. Let's see, what am I supposed to say now? Anyway, besides all that, make sure you check out Instagram and Untapped. It's No Hype Beer Reviews at both of those places. So always, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, imbibe. Cheers, everyone.